Joachim Bitterlich is a former German ambassador to NATO and former European diplomatic and security advisor to German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. He is now joining us live from Normandy. Mr. Bitterlich, welcome, and it's good to see you. This is a plan that involves both NATO and Germany to deploy over 800,000 troops in case of an all-out war with Russia. What could have stoked them to come up with such a plan, or what is the message they're trying to send?
Well, I smile to some extent, because there is no epic proportion in this planification. It's just the reactivation and the adaptation of the contingency planning of NATO in the case of an attack from the Russian side. This has been existing during the Cold War period. I remember this period where we have tested this through what we called big lifts from the US or from Britain to Germany, as Germany has been in this period the main potential battlefield against the Russians. And therefore you need the necessary infrastructure. It's an infrastructure which understands airports, ports, which understands motor highways, which understands railways. And Germans have been testing this last year in a NATO exercise, because now we have to include in this not only Western Germany, but former Eastern Germany and Poland and the Baltic states. And therefore, these plans have to be adapted, and they have tested it once, parts of it, last year, and therefore it's normal that the Germans have to rewrite, to a certain extent, these planifications. It's contingency planifications, no more, no less. It's just for the case of defense, and it's clear, a certain aspect of deterrence against the Russian side.
Mr. Ambassador,
two steps.
Mr. Ambassador, talking about adaptation, why is NATO expanding its network of land corridors across Europe and facilitating the movement of troops and equipment from, various member states? We are talking about routes from Italy to Eastern Europe, Turkey, and the Balkans.
No, it's normal. I call this contingency planning. And all this planification has been existing during the Cold War, let's say till the beginning of the 90s. And these planifications have, let's say, been sleeping to some extent during this period where we were hoping that we will never see again any war on European soil. But now, looking at the Russian aggression, looking at this Russian, let's say, words and threatens against Poland, against the Baltic states, NATO and the allies have to be prepared. And therefore, I call these plans have to be reactivated. And for once, we have to integrate in this, for example, Poland, and till the Baltic states, in the case of. He said nothing aggressive at all. It's just a typical, let's say, military planification. To look for what are the right ways to use, what are the right, let's say, highways to use. Your reporter mentioned the A2, the famous highway between Western Germany and Berlin, going till the Polish border. It's normal that military would like to use it, but you have to look after if the infrastructure is in shape, the infrastructure has been adapted, controlled, and it's for me, it's a normal exercise.
Normal exercise, you say, Mr. Ambassador. Very quickly, before I let you go, how do you think Russia will react to this plan by NATO and Germany?
Well, it's clear the Russians do not like these plans, because they would not be able, let's say, to act by surprise or by aggressive policy against any NATO member. And therefore, it's a clear warning to the Russian side, please be careful. Dear friends from the other side, please be careful. Don't be aggressive towards NATO. Don't attack any of our member states. We are prepared in this case.
Mr.
That's all, no more or less. It's typical task of a defensive military organization.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for talking to us. I've been talking to Ambassador Joachim Bitterlich, who is a former German ambassador to NATO and former European diplomatic and security advisor to German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. Bitterlich, thank you.
Don't mention it. It's a pleasure as always.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.